going on, guys? Welcome to the channel. It's actually nice today, hot today. This is what I was waiting for. We need to get some stuff done. So today we have Justin's truck. I think if you've heard me talk about it in the past, we have some things we want to get done with this. He just took off for a minute. We're doing gauges. He wants to go with a standard 3 gauge pillar, and then of course we're using only the best. We have an Isspro transmission temp, Isspro boost, and the supply pressure. The great thing about using these Isspro gauges and why I love them so much is not only are they the best on the market alongside like Autometer and any other brand, these are pretty top notch, and they match. This particular model matches the factory gauges to a T. Same, backlight color, same needle, same everything. So there's that. If you guys are real sticklers for having things match, and also they're local to me. So if you didn't know, I live in Oregon, and these guys here, Isspro, is up in Portland. So that's only, 3 hours, 3.5 hours from me. So I like to support the local businesses, especially since his local businesses, well, are the best. So we need to do, this is his truck. This is I think it's an 06, maybe 7, 5.9 megacab. He's got pretty much the same lift and everything. If you guys want a whole comparison, there's mine. That's this one. Same truck, kind of, sort of, but not really. We're gonna come in here. We already got the pillar off, his factory pillar, and we're gonna go through, install the sensors, install the gauges, all that fun stuff. I want to show you guys how to do that. So one of the reasons I like Isspro so much is when you buy their gauge set, it comes with everything. Everything's, open one up for you. So this is the supply pressure, the fuel supply pressure. They gave the gauge. The gauge is really nice, like I showed you guys before. Good quality gauge. And then under that, you have everything. You have the install tool, assembly tool rather, for the wiring harness. This is an inline fuse for the supply. They sell you a really, really good quality sensor. These sensors rock. They gave you more than enough wire to do and go anywhere, wherever you want. And then the sensor harness, they give you even more wire. And nice weather pack plug, actual Delphi plug. I mean, just everything's really good quality. Everything's there. They really take care of you on their products. Of course, instructions, but who needs those, right? Now, this is the one thing that Isspro doesn't send you with the fuel pressure kit, but at the same time, they don't need to. So this is a T that goes in line. They sell these in a bunch of different sizes. And that's one reason they don't supply you with this, is because they don't need to. I mean, every situation's different. These, you can get them on Gino's. That's where I always get them, Gino's Garage. But they're really good. I've had one on my truck for a long time. They don't leak. And you can tie into that supply line and get your reading there. So we're going to do that. And then the transmission temperature gauge, I'm actually really excited to get into that one, because how they do that one is, well, I didn't see it coming. I thought, he has a temperature port on his pan, but we're not going to use that, because what they supply you basically clamps, the sensor clamps onto a line. So we're going to get to that, but for now I'm going to get started. I'm going to put the boost pressure sensor in the horn, and I'm going to get the fuel pressure sensor in the fuel line, and then we'll start running wires and go from there. So the sensor, you want to use a thread sealant on this. It's tapered pipe, whether it be tape or paste, the liquid Teflon stuff or white stuff. I really don't think there's anything wrong with either one of them, but the big thing is, well, two big things. One, you want to make sure you want to go the proper direction. So if no one's ever showed you the proper way to use a thread tape or a sealant, So you have your threads, right? And the way you're going to thread that in is clockwise. So when you put your tape on your part, you want to make sure that it is clockwise, so that as you are threading your sensor in, your thread sealant is not gonna bunch up on you. So usually one wrap, make sure it's not over the port like that. And just bear in mind, when you thread that in to whatever you're putting it into, you don't want it to unravel, which this will go in just fine.
A few moments later.
Have to give you guys a little bit of an update. I'm sorry I got a little carried away. So you saw that we put the boost sensor in the intake horn. This splice, I didn't realize it already had a port in it, so I didn't mess with taking the splice out to put our new one in. I just put the fuel pressure sensor in that port. So to build the harness for those, I'm actually using this Alex Tech wrap. Went through, plugged both leads in, and kind of tied them together, and then wrapped them with the Alex Tech. This stuff's really cool. It's not like a standard split loom. It's more of a sleeve. It's this fiber stuff, and actually rolls over on itself. It's real nice stuff, real easy to use. So now I'm going to take my harness. I'm going to not really plug it in yet because I still need to do the transmission temp sensor. So the provided transmission temperature sensor, there's this bracket and this sensor, right? So you have 3 different holes depending on what your tube size is. They made it for different size tube. I do believe we're probably going to be here, but what you're going to do is you're going to find which tube size you use. There's 3 options, 1, 2, and 3. Depending on what your tube size is what hole you're going to use to mount this thing. But what it's going to do in the long run is you're going to thread the sensor in the bracket, and it's actually going to pinch against the tube. Okay, and that's on the tip, a tube like that, and that's what's going to give your temperature reading. Now, if we're not happy with how this reads, there is a port in the pan on this truck, and we can put the sensor right in the pan. But I think for this, I really want to try this out and see how it works, because one, it's provided, and this is what you get in the kit. But more importantly, I don't have any fluid. I'm not going to go get fluid. If this doesn't work, we'll go in the pan. Long story short. So what I'm going to do now, we're going to go down on the truck. We're going to get this on our line. I'm going to get this as close to the transmission output as possible as far as the cooler. So there's 2 cooler lines that go in and out of the transmission. You have one that goes out up to the main transmission cooler and then back to the transmission. I want to monitor the temperature of the transmission fluid coming out of the transmission. Obviously that way you know what the transmission's doing rather than what it is after the cooler. So we'll get down there, we'll put this on there, and then we'll do the same thing. We'll probably put our loom in there, our harness, and then kind of see where this wire ties in, and we're going to loom this and then tie it in and all the fun stuff. And I also have a slick way to put that loom on that I need to show you guys. So here's what we're up against with this sensor. So I want, now I'm sure you guys will correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but this is the line I'm going to grab right now. I don't know if this is an inlet or an outlet. They're not really marked, but what we want to do is we got our sensor in there. I wish it was angled this way so you could see it, but as I tighten the sensor, it's going to pinch against the line. And that's going to hold, it's going to hold the sensor against the line so it could read pressure, and it's also going to keep it in place. See, like that. So what I'm gonna do, get it straight up and down. I'm gonna tighten this guy. Now you don't want to kill it. 1/2 wrench, and we're gonna tighten this. We don't want to kill it. One, we don't want to damage the sensor, and two, we don't want to spread the bracket. But right now, it's sturdy, so I'm not going to mess with that anymore. I say that as I mess with the line, but... So this loom is called Alex, well, it's made by Alex Tech, or sold by Alex Tech on Amazon. It's not normal split loom, it's mesh loom stuff. Super cool, super flexible. Putting it on can be a pain. And this is why I wanted to show you guys this. I'm using a 10mm socket. You can use whatever works for you. But take your wire. You're going to put your wiring in the socket. You guys can see this. Put your wiring in the socket. What you're going to want it to end up with is like this. So as you pull your socket back, this 2-wire stuff would work better with a smaller socket, but you can kind of push the loom up the socket like that, and it's going to loom it. If you had a second set of hands, you can have somebody holding the connector, but we're just going to take this and we're going to run it down. Run it down. Just like this. Now, easy as that. We have our wire and our loom. Now we can go in the truck. I'm going to plug both sides in. I'm going to plug this into the transmission and start running this up. Right now we have it all run. We have it all loomed. We have it all run. Everything looks the way I want it to look. There's no exposed colored wires. Everything's loomed up real nice. Everything's routed real nice. Nothing's going to get caught in anything. Nothing's going to get burned. Everything is how it should be. Now what we have to do, we have to come inside and actually wire them in. So what I did with my truck and what I'm going to do with this truck, if you watched my video on installing the fuel pressure gauge I put in a pillar here, I said, I found this plug-in on my truck that wasn't plugged in anything. Well, come to find out, that is the option for the adjustable pedals. I don't have adjustable pedals, obviously. That's why this was just kind of out in the open. This is the plug off of the back of the dimmer switch, off of here. And that's where I'm going to pull the signal for the dimmer so that the new gauges dim like the factory gauges and everything works like it should. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in on this plug, if you're looking at it like this. Okay, the second wire in on the top is orange and brown. That is where I'm going to take the orange wire. Now, on the adjustable pedal plug, the black wire on the adjustable pedal plug is black. That is ground. That is going to go to this black wire. And then this gray with a pink stripe, that is your ignition 12 volts. And that is going to go to this red wire. Now, as far as this is concerned, this is another piece of the puzzle, and it's all going to make sense in a while. So you have ignition 12 volts, you have ground, and you have a dimmer wire. So now that since we have 3 gauges, I went and I just made this. So this comes in, splits to 3. I didn't cut any 3 down, and you'll see why in a minute. And also we have our looms ran into the cab. Now, again, I have 2 sets. I have the boost and the fuel pressure ran through one loom. This second loom comes from the transmission temp sensor, and that one only has 2 wires. The other 2 sensors have 3. Oh, where did the end go? Here it is. This is the end of this one. You have 2 wires, green and black. This will all make sense in a second. So we got the pod installed, we got the wires ran. The big thing I want you guys to take away from this is just this kind of nitty-gritty stuff. Running wires, you know, all the sensor stuff under the hood and the transmission, that's all preference. That's all user preference. But this stuff is what you guys need to see. And if you guys buy these gauges, this is what you're going to want help with. Putting the connectors on. So here's a brief picture of what they have for you, if you can see that. I don't know if it's going to focus, but these connectors, we're going to start with fuel pressure. So I'm not even going to take the gauge out of the box yet. What you have is your connector, and they give you an install tool, a crimp tool, or whatever you want to say, every gauge, with every gauge, so you don't have to worry about that so much. And you're going to see wires in there because I used wires out of 2 sets to make one, but whatever. So hopefully you can see this, but on every connector, it's not going to focus, but it is labeled 1 through 6, the wire position. And the instructions, they're very, very nice to you and tell you, 1, with a picture, and 2, with this explanation, what 1 through 6 should be. They're going to show you how it is. So with the install tool, you have a solid end. You see on the left side, you see that solid end. That channel corresponds with wire number 6. So 6, you know, obviously 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This number 6 is number 1, which means when you go to push these together and make the install tool work, it's going to go like so. You guys will see that in a minute. So what we need to do is load the install tool with the wiring for this gauge. We know on this, we're going to do it like this. So we have 1 through 6. They want your sensor ground on 6. Your sensor signal is 5. And your sensor power is 4. You're going to want gauge ground on 3. You're going to want your dimmer on 2, and you're going to want your power on 1. Now, take your time, make sure everything's right. Give yourself a little extra lead. We're going to take our plug. We're going to make sure we have this right. So 6, pin 6, it's over here. It's going to go like so. The way the install tool works, make goddamn sure that you have 6 on the solid side, because you only get one shot at this. 6 on the solid side, and then you have everything where it needs to be. This is where things get exciting, because now you need to push your sensor connector. And this is probably the wrong pair of pliers for this job, but you want to push it all down evenly into the installer. Make sure that whatever plier you are using, you're gentle. You don't want to do any damage to the actual connector. So once we have that done, pull our installer off. Make sure that your wires are all in there. Now we can go through and put our little cover on. Slides on like so. And then cut your excess off. Snap the gauge in, just like that. Off we go. Now you'll notice I don't have the gauges. I don't have the gauges pushed in all the way yet. That's because I want to make sure I'm going to tighten my pillar up, make sure the pillar's good. Then I'm going to make sure that all the gauges are straight. And then once I have them straight, then I'll push them in. They fit in this pillar mount pretty good. There you guys go. There we go. We installed these gauges. They're all done. It's pretty straightforward. If you guys have any questions, please put them in the comments, because I actually have another set of gauges going in my truck that you guys will see pretty soon. So if you have any questions, if I left anything out, if you have anything, anything's unclear, let me know before we do the next video. And if you see this down the road and it's already done, I'm going to try like hell to make sure that if I have any questions watching this video, or if I feel like I left anything out, then I'm going to take care of that in the other video. So I want to thank you guys for watching, and yeah, I'll see you on the next one.